Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars drift past the main viewing window. The large civilian transport ship moved slowly through space, carrying nearly 4,000 people to their new home. Jake had been flying ships for 20 years, but this mission felt special. These were not soldiers or traders. They were families looking for a fresh start on a distant world. The ship was massive but peaceful. No weapons hung from its hull, only cargo, bays filled with farming equipment, medical supplies, and the personal belongings of hopeful colonists. The New Horizon displayed bright identification signals that told anyone who looked that this was a civilian vessel carrying innocent people. Dr. Lisa Bennett walked through the passenger sections, checking on the sleeping colonists. Most of them rested in cryopods during the long journey. The cold sleep kept them safe and comfortable, while the ship traveled between star systems. Lisa moved quietly between the rows of pods, her medical scanner beeping softly as it confirmed that everyone was healthy and stable. In one section, she found the pods containing the kindergarten class from New Boston Elementary. 26 children between ages 5 and 7 slept peacefully, dreaming of the new world they would call home. Their teacher, Mrs. Helen Davis, rested in the pod next to them. Helen had volunteered to bring the orphaned children to the colony, where new families waited to adopt them. Ryan Walsh sat at the communications station, monitoring radio signals from Earth and the colony ahead. The young officer kept careful records of their position and sent regular updates back home. Every few hours, he would receive messages from families on Earth, asking about their relatives aboard the ship. Ryan always sent back good news. The journey was going perfectly. Navigator Amy Carter plotted their course through the Kepler 442 system. They were only 3 days away from reaching the colony world. The planet was beautiful from space, with blue oceans and green continents that reminded everyone of Earth. Thousands of colonists already lived there, building cities and farms under the alien sun. The ship carried people from all walks of life. Teachers who would start schools on the new world, doctors who would heal the sick, engineers who would build bridges and roads, farmers who would grow food in alien soil, artists who would create beauty in a place where none had existed before. Children who would be the first generation born under a foreign sky. Jake often walked through the passenger areas when he was off duty. He liked to look at the personal items people brought with them. Photo albums showing Earth families they left behind, musical instruments that would play songs on a new world, seeds from Earth plants that might grow in alien gardens. Each item told a story of hope and dreams. The ship's computer announced their position as they entered the outer edge of the Kepler 442 system. Amy checked her instruments and confirmed they were exactly on schedule. In 3 more days, they would orbit the colony world and begin waking the sleeping passengers. The colonists would see their new home for the first time. Ryan received a routine message from Earth Space Control, wishing them a safe journey. He sent back a standard reply, reporting that all systems were working well and all passengers were healthy. The message would take several hours to reach Earth, traveling at the speed of light across the vast distance between star systems. Dr. Bennett finished her rounds and returned to the medical bay. She reviewed the health data from all the cryopods, looking for any signs of problems. Everything looked normal. The families would wake up healthy and ready to start their new lives. She smiled as she thought about the children meeting their adoptive parents for the first time. The ship's dining area stayed mostly empty during the journey, but a few crew members gathered there during their breaks. They talked about what they would do when they reached the colony. Some planned to stay and help build the settlement. Others would return to Earth with the ship to bring more colonists on future trips. Jake returned to the bridge for the night shift. The stars looked the same as always, distant points of light in the endless darkness of space. He never got tired of the view. Space was vast and mostly empty, but it was also full of possibilities. Humanity was spreading among the stars, finding new homes and building new lives far from Earth. The New Horizon continued its peaceful journey through space. Its engines hummed quietly, pushing the ship forward at a steady pace. The sleeping colonists dreamed of their new world. The crew worked calmly at their stations, confident that they were carrying precious cargo safely to its destination. Amy noticed something on her sensors and called Jake over to look. Small objects were moving toward them from the direction of the outer planets. She ran a detailed scan and found several ships approaching at high speed. The ships were not broadcasting identification signals, which was strange, but not necessarily dangerous. Jake ordered Ryan to send a standard greeting on all radio frequencies. The message went out in multiple languages, including the common trade language used by most space-traveling species. It identified the New Horizon as a peaceful civilian transport and requested that the approaching ships identify themselves. The response came not in words, but in the bright flash of weapons fire. Plasma bolts struck the New Horizon's hull, tearing through the outer sections where some of the colonists slept. Emergency alarms began screaming throughout the ship as Jake realized with horror that they were under attack. The peaceful journey had become a nightmare. The New Horizon, carrying thousands of innocent people, faced an enemy that showed no mercy to civilians. 3 days passed before anyone knew what happened to the New Horizon. The ship had stopped sending regular messages to Earth, and the colony world reported that it never arrived. Earth's Space Command sent the patrol ship Defender to investigate. Commander Kate Johnson led her crew through hyperspace toward the last known position of the missing transport. She had been patrolling space lanes for 15 years and had seen many emergencies. Ships sometimes broke down or got lost. Pirates occasionally attacked cargo vessels. But civilian transports rarely just disappeared. The Defender dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Lieutenant Alex Turner immediately began scanning for any sign of the New Horizon. His instruments picked up scattered metal objects floating in space. Kate felt her stomach tighten as she realized what they had found. Debris spread across millions of miles of empty space. Pieces of hull plating drifted slowly, twisted and burned. Personal belongings floated among the wreckage. A child's stuffed animal spun end over end in the vacuum. Photo frames showed smiling families who would never reach their new home. Kate ordered her crew to begin a detailed search of the wreckage field. They needed to find out what happened to the New Horizon and its passengers. The ship's black box would contain recordings of the final moments. Any survivors might still be alive. In emergency pods, Alex found larger pieces of the ship's hull and began examining them closely. Deep burns scarred the metal where energy weapons had struck. The damage was severe and came from multiple directions. This was not an accident or equipment failure. The New Horizon had been attacked by several ships firing powerful weapons. Dr. Gary Phillips, the Defender's science officer, studied the weapon signatures burned into the hull fragments. The energy patterns matched known Zephyrian plasma cannons. The Zephyrian Dominion was a military empire that controlled several star systems. They were known for their aggressive expansion and brutal treatment of other species. Kate sent a priority message to Earth reporting their discovery. A civilian transport carrying 4,000 innocent people had been destroyed by Zephyrian warships. The attack had occurred in neutral space, far from any military zones. There was no possible excuse for targeting civilian colonists. The search continued for hours as the crew mapped the debris field. They found pieces of cryopods that had contained sleeping passengers. The pods had been breached, exposing their occupants to the vacuum of space. Families had died in their sleep, never knowing what happened to them. Alex located the ship's command section, badly damaged, but mostly intact. He used the Defender's robotic arm to bring it aboard. Inside the twisted metal, they found the ship's flight recorder still functioning. The black box contained the last hours of the New Horizon's journey. Kate played the recording in the briefing room. Her crew listened in silence as they heard Captain Morrison's voice trying to make peaceful contact with the approaching ships. The New Horizon had broadcast its civilian status and asked for safe passage. The response had been immediate weapons fire. The recording continued as the attack intensified. They heard crew members trying to evacuate passengers from damaged sections. Dr. Bennett's voice came over the intercom, calling for medical teams to help the wounded. Children could be heard crying in the background as emergency alarms blared. The final part of the recording was the most disturbing. After crippling the New Horizon, The Zephyrian ships had moved closer. Boarding parties had cut through the hull to enter the damaged transport. The attackers had not come to rescue survivors or offer help. They had come to finish what they started. Captain Morrison's last words were a desperate plea for the safety of the children aboard his ship. Then the recording ended as the ship's power systems failed. The New Horizon had broken apart, scattering its passengers and crew into the cold vacuum of space. Kate sent the black box recording to Earth, along with detailed scans of the weapon damage. The evidence was clear and undeniable. The Zephyrian Dominion had deliberately attacked and destroyed a clearly marked civilian transport. They had murdered thousands of innocent people, including women and children. The search teams found more evidence of the massacre. Escape pods that had been fired upon as they tried to flee the dying ship. Personal items that showed families had been trying to stay together during the attack. A teacher's tablet containing lesson plans for schools that would never be built. In one section of debris, they discovered the remains of the kindergarten classroom. 26 small cryopods had been destroyed along with their teacher's pod. The children had been traveling to meet their new adoptive families on the colony world. Instead, they had become victims of senseless violence. Dr. Phillips found something that made the crime even worse. Traces of Zephyrian ship emissions showed that the attackers had stayed in the area for several hours after destroying the New Horizon. They had not been in a hurry to escape. They had taken their time, making sure no one survived to tell what happened. The crew of the Defender worked tirelessly to recover what they could from the wreckage. Each piece of debris represented a life that had been lost. Every personal item belonged to someone who had dreamed of a better future among the stars. The scale of the tragedy was overwhelming. Kate filed her final report as the Defender prepared to return to Earth. The New Horizon had been carrying 3,147 colonists and crew members. All were presumed dead. The attack appeared to be unprovoked and deliberately targeted at civilians. The Zephyrian Dominion had committed an act of war against humanity. News of the massacre spread quickly through human space. The images of children's toys floating among the wreckage sparked outrage on every human world. The peaceful colonization program that represented humanity's hope for the future had become a symbol of tragedy that demanded justice. Earth's leaders faced a terrible choice. They could ignore the attack and accept that humanity was seen as weak prey by aggressive alien empires, or they could respond with force and risk a war that might cost millions more lives. The debris field of the New Horizon drifted silently through space, waiting for humanity's answer. The news of the New Horizon massacre reached Earth within hours of Commander Johnson's report. President Nathan Cross called an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. Military leaders from every nation gathered in the secure bunker beneath Geneva to discuss humanity's response. Admiral Claire Rodriguez presented the evidence to the assembled leaders. The images of floating debris and children's toys filled the briefing room screens. The black box recording played Captain Morrison's final desperate words. No one spoke as the recording ended. The silence stretched for long minutes as the weight of the tragedy settled over them. General Robert Kim from the Asian Defense Alliance was the first to speak. He had seen many battles during his long career, but the deliberate murder of civilians shocked even him. The Zephyrians had not attacked a military target or strategic location. They had chosen to destroy innocent families traveling to build a new life. Admiral Kevin Palmer, head of Earth's Strategic Operations Division, stood to address the Council. For decades, he had overseen humanity's most classified military programs. The public knew Earth possessed standard space warships and defensive weapons. They did not know about the secret projects hidden in deep space installations. Palmer activated a holographic display showing the outer regions of the solar system. 12 red dots appeared on the map, marking locations that officially did not exist. These were the construction sites where humanity had built its most advanced warships using technology that pushed the limits of known science. The ships had been designed after Earth's scientists discovered ancient alien artifacts buried in deep ocean trenches. The artifacts contained technology millions of years ahead of human science. Teams of researchers had spent 30 years learning to understand and copy the alien designs. Dr. Sophie Clark, led the team preparing humanity's response weapon. The ship was called Divine Wrath, one of 12 identical vessels hidden throughout the solar system. Each ship was over 2 miles long and carried weapons that could reduce entire fleets to subatomic particles. The Divine Wrath's main weapon was the quantum displacement cannon. The device could tear holes in space itself, creating miniature black holes that would consume anything nearby. Dr. Clark had spent 15 years perfecting the technology, hoping it would never need to be used against living beings. Colonel Ben Parker commanded Earth's most elite military unit, the Ghost Legion. These soldiers had been enhanced with nanotechnology and genetic modifications that made them barely human anymore. They could survive in the vacuum of space, regenerate from wounds that would kill normal people, and interface directly with advanced computer systems. The Ghost Legion had been created in secret laboratories hidden beneath Earth's major cities. Each soldier volunteered for the program, knowing they would never be able to return to normal human society. They became living weapons dedicated to protecting humanity from threats too dangerous for conventional forces. Parker briefed his team on their mission. Intelligence reports suggested that some passengers from the New Horizon might still be alive in Zephyrian prison camps. The Ghost Legion would infiltrate enemy territory to rescue any survivors while gathering information about Zephyrian military capabilities. Intelligence. Director Grace Williams revealed Earth's vast network of sleeper agents embedded throughout galactic civilization. For 50 years, humans had posed as traders, scientists, diplomats, and workers on alien worlds. They had built detailed maps of every major military installation and population center in known space. The agents had been carefully selected and trained to blend in perfectly with alien societies. Some had lived their cover identities for decades, building families and careers while secretly gathering intelligence for Earth. They communicated through untraceable quantum communication networks that appeared to be normal commercial data transmissions. Agent Sam Foster had been working undercover on Zephyr Prime for 8 years, posing as a maintenance worker on the orbital defense platform. His reports provided detailed blueprints of the enemy's most heavily defended positions. He had identified weak points in their security systems and mapped the locations of command centers. Dr. Williams activated her communication network and sent coded messages to agents throughout Zephyrian space. Within hours, humanity would have real-time intelligence on every enemy ship, base, and defensive installation. The Zephyrians had no idea that their most secure facilities were being watched by human eyes. The preparation continued around the clock as Earth's hidden military machine activated. Supply ships emerged from camouflaged asteroid bases, carrying weapons and equipment that had never been tested in actual combat. Engineers who had spent their careers working on theoretical projects suddenly found their designs becoming reality. Admiral Palmer coordinated the deployment of Earth's secret fleet. The ships moved through hyperspace using routes that avoided all known shipping lanes and monitoring stations. They appeared on no sensor screens and left no trace of their passage. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth's military response was invisible. President Cross addressed the United Nations General Assembly as the military preparations continued. He spoke of justice for the innocent victims of the New Horizon. He promised that those responsible would face consequences for their actions. He did not mention the weapons being prepared or the soldiers being deployed. The public saw Earth's leaders making diplomatic protests and calling for peaceful resolution. They did not know about the quantum torpedoes being loaded into launch tubes or the AI viruses being prepared to infiltrate enemy computer systems. Humanity's true response would come as a complete surprise to those who had underestimated human capabilities. Dr. Clark ran final tests on the Divine Wrath's weapon systems. The quantum displacement cannon could destroy planets if fired at full power. However, the mission required precision, not destruction. The weapon would be calibrated to eliminate military targets while leaving civilian areas completely unharmed. Colonel Parker's Ghost Legion soldiers underwent final preparations in the ship's enhancement chambers. Nanotechnology flowed through their bloodstreams, improving their reflexes and healing abilities. Genetic modifications strengthened their muscles and bones. Neural implants connected their minds to the ship's tactical computers. The soldiers were no longer entirely human, but they retained their human values and morality. They understood the difference between military targets and innocent civilians. Their mission was to rescue prisoners and eliminate threats, not to cause unnecessary suffering. As Earth's secret preparations neared completion, the rest of the galaxy remained unaware of what was coming. The Zephyrian Dominion celebrated their victory over the weak humans. Other alien empires watched to see if humanity would respond with force or accept their fate as victims. None of them realized that Earth's peaceful appearance had always been a carefully maintained illusion. Humanity had spent decades preparing for exactly this situation. The attack on the New Horizon had awakened something that the galaxy was not ready to face. 6 weeks after the New Horizon massacre, Fleet Admiral Korvax stood on the command deck of his flagship orbiting Zephyr Prime. The massive Zephyrian warship dominated the space around their home world, a symbol of the Empire's military might. Korvax looked out at his fleet with satisfaction, pleased with their recent victory over the weak humans. The Admiral called his war council together to plan their next attacks. The humans had shown no response to the destruction of their civilian transport. This proved what Korvax had always believed. Humanity was a soft species that would not fight back when challenged by superior forces. Commander Vex, his second-in-command, displayed a holographic map showing human colony worlds scattered across nearby star systems. Each world represented thousands of potential victims and valuable resources for the Zephyrian Empire. The colonies appeared defenseless, protected only by small patrol ships and basic defensive satellites. Korvax smiled as he planned which human world to attack next. Perhaps they would target the agricultural colonies that fed the human expansion. Or maybe the mining worlds that provided raw materials for their ships. The humans would learn that their peaceful expansion into space could not continue without Zephyrian permission. Unknown to the celebrating Zephyrians, they were being watched. Lieutenant Sam Foster worked quietly in the maintenance tunnels beneath the orbital defense platform. For 8 years, he had posed as a simple repair technician while gathering intelligence on enemy military capabilities. His neural implants recorded every detail of the platform's defensive systems. Sam had watched through security cameras as Admiral Korvax planned his next attacks on human civilians. The intelligence flowed through quantum communication links to Earth's strategic command. Every word spoken in the War Council was transmitted across space in real time, giving Earth's military complete knowledge of enemy plans. The first sign that something was wrong came from the outer sensor stations. Long-range detectors picked up strange readings at the edge of the Zephyr system. Ships were approaching, but their signatures did not match any known vessel designs. The energy patterns suggested technology far more advanced than anything the Zephyrians possessed. Admiral Korvax dismissed the reports as sensor malfunctions. The humans had no military ships capable of reaching Zephyr Prime. Their small patrol fleet was designed for police work, not warfare. Even if they wanted revenge for the New Horizon, they lacked the weapons and courage to attack a major Zephyrian military base. The divine wrath emerged from hyperspace like a shadow, materializing from the void. The massive human dreadnought appeared, without warning, its advanced stealth systems having hidden it from all detection until the moment of attack. Smaller escort ships materialized around it, forming a perfect battle formation. Captain Scott Lewis commanded the Divine Wrath from its heavily armored bridge. His crew had trained for years for this moment, learning to operate weapons that pushed the boundaries of physics itself. They knew exactly what targets to hit and how to hit them without harming innocent civilians. The Zephyrian fleet tried to respond, but their ships were already doomed. Human intelligence had provided exact locations for every enemy vessel. Quantum torpedoes phased through space, ignoring shields and armor to strike critical systems. The torpedoes had been programmed to disable rather than destroy, leaving enemy crews alive but helpless. AI viruses, more sophisticated than anything the galaxy had ever seen, infiltrated Zephyrian computer networks within seconds. The viruses had been designed by Earth's best programmers using advanced alien algorithms. They turned the enemy's own weapons against them, while shutting down life support systems in military areas only. Commander Vex watched in horror as his flagship's weapons turned toward other Zephyrian ships. The computer systems no longer responded to his commands. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the ship as the AI virus spread through every circuit and processor. The proud Zephyrian fleet was being destroyed by its own technology. The orbital defense platforms around Zephyr Prime suffered the same fate. Sam Foster watched from his hidden position as the massive weapons turned away from the attacking human ships. The platforms targeting computers had been reprogrammed to fire only at empty space, leaving the human fleet completely unprotected by the very weapons meant to stop them. On the surface of Zephyr Prime, military bases found their own defensive systems turning against them. Missile batteries fired their ammunition into uninhabited areas. Energy shields collapsed, leaving command bunkers exposed. Communication networks shut down, isolating military units from each other and their commanders. Throughout the attack, human weapons showed impossible precision. Quantum displacement beams carved through military installations while leaving civilian buildings completely untouched. A hospital next to a military headquarters remained perfectly intact, while the command center was reduced to subatomic particles. The Ghost Legion launched their rescue mission while the Zephyrian military was paralyzed. Colonel Parker led his enhanced soldiers through the chaos, using the confusion to penetrate the most secure prison facility on Zephyr Prime's moon. Their target was the labor camp where human prisoners from the New Horizon were being held. The prison guards never saw the Ghost Legion coming. The enhanced soldiers moved through shadows and air vents, their nanotechnology making them nearly invisible to normal detection methods. They disabled security systems with touches that sent AI viruses directly into computer networks through their fingertips. Parker found the human prisoners in a deep underground facility designed to hold the most valuable captives. 847 survivors from the New Horizon were alive, though many showed signs of abuse and malnutrition. The children from Mrs. Davis's kindergarten class huddled together in one cell, scared but unbroken. The rescue operation took exactly 18 minutes. Ghost Legion soldiers carried the weakest prisoners while the others followed through carefully planned escape routes. They reached their extraction point as Zephyrian forces were still trying to understand what was happening to their fleet in orbit. Captain Lewis coordinated the evacuation from the Divine Wrath's command center. His ship's advanced medical bay began treating the rescued prisoners while the orbital battle continued. Every human life was precious, and the rescue mission was considered just as important as the military objectives. Admiral Corvex found himself trapped on his flagship as its systems failed around him. The ship's weapons had fired all their ammunition at empty space. Life support was failing in military sections, while civilian areas remained fully functional. His crew was abandoning ship in escape pods that worked perfectly despite the computer virus. The Zephyrian admiral tried to send a surrender message, but his communication systems had been selectively disabled. He could receive human transmissions but could not respond. Earth's forces wanted him to watch and listen as they demonstrated what real military precision looked like. In exactly 72 hours, the human attack had eliminated every Zephyrian military asset in the system. Not a single enemy warship remained functional. Orbital platforms drifted powerless in space. Ground-based military facilities had been surgically removed, while the cities around them continued their normal activities. The precision of the attack sent shockwaves throughout the Zephyrian leadership. The humans had demonstrated technology far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. More importantly, they had shown restraint that was almost godlike in its precision. They could have destroyed planets but chose to eliminate only military targets. As the human fleet prepared to leave Zephyr Prime, they left behind a message that would echo throughout the galaxy. The attack had not been about conquest or revenge. It had been about justice and a warning to any species that thought human civilians were easy targets. Admiral Claire Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Divine Wrath as the human fleet prepared to leave Zephyr Prime. Around them, the remains of the Zephyrian military floated helplessly in space. Not a single enemy ship remained capable of fighting. The orbital defense platforms drifted dark and silent. On the planet below, military bases had been surgically removed, while civilian cities continued their daily lives unchanged. The rescue operation had been a complete success. All 847 survivors from the New Horizon were aboard human ships, receiving medical treatment and psychological care. The children from Mrs. Davis's kindergarten class were finally safe, though they would carry the memories of their captivity forever. Emma Morrison, Captain Jake Morrison's daughter, had been among the rescued prisoners. She was now 19 years old, having spent months in Zephyrian captivity after watching her father die defending their ship. The experience had changed her, but her spirit remained unbroken. She had become a symbol of human resilience for the other survivors. Admiral Rodriguez activated the galaxy-wide communication network that would broadcast Earth's message to every inhabited world in known space. The transmission would reach billions of beings across hundreds of different species. This message would define how the galaxy viewed humanity for generations to come. The broadcast began with images from the New Horizon wreckage field. Children's toys floating in the vacuum of space. Family photos scattered among twisted metal. The peaceful transport ship's identification beacon, still broadcasting its civilian status even as debris. The galaxy watched in silence as the full horror of the massacre was revealed. Emma Morrison stepped forward to address the galaxy. Her young voice carried the weight of terrible experience, but also the strength that came from survival. She held a tablet containing the names of every person who had died aboard the New Horizon. Her father's name was at the top of the list. She began reading the names slowly and clearly. Captain Jake Morrison, who had tried to negotiate peace even as weapons, fire tore through his ship. Dr. Lisa Bennett, who had died trying to save her patients. Ryan Walsh, the young communications officer who had sent humanity's final distress call. Each name represented a life cut short by senseless violence. The kindergarten class took the longest to read. 26 children between ages 5 and 7, each with dreams of seeing their new world. Mrs. Helen Davis, their teacher, who had volunteered to bring the orphaned children to families who wanted to love them. Their names echoed across the galaxy as a reminder of innocence destroyed. As Emma read the names, the broadcast showed side-by-side images of the massacre and humanity's response. The random destruction of the civilian transport contrasted sharply with the surgical precision of the human military strike. Not a single Zephyrian civilian had been harmed during the retaliation. The message was clear to every species watching. Humanity possessed the technology to destroy entire worlds but chose not to use it. They could have turned Zephyr Prime into a lifeless rock, but instead they had carefully removed only military targets. This was not the action of a primitive species seeking revenge. This was the response of an advanced civilization guided by moral principles. Admiral Rodriguez spoke directly to the galaxy's leaders. Humanity had tried to expand peacefully among the stars, building colonies and trading with other species. They had shared their knowledge and offered friendship to any civilization willing to coexist. The attack on the New Horizon had forced them to reveal capabilities they had hoped never to use. The Admiral explained that Earth had been preparing for this day for decades. Human scientists had unlocked secrets that allowed them to build weapons of unimaginable power. Human intelligence networks had mapped every major military installation in known space. Human special forces had been enhanced beyond the limits of normal biology. But most importantly, humanity had maintained its values even while developing these terrible capabilities. The precision of the retaliation demonstrated that humans understood the difference between justice and revenge. They could strike with godlike power while showing godlike restraint. The broadcast showed footage from the Ghost Legion's rescue mission. Enhanced human soldiers moved through Zephyrian facilities like ghosts, disabling security systems with touches and carrying weak prisoners to safety. The mission had been planned to save lives, not destroy them. Even enemy guards had been left, unconscious rather than killed. Dr. Sophie Clark appeared on the transmission to explain the technology behind humanity's weapons. The quantum displacement cannons could manipulate space itself, creating miniature black holes or tearing holes. In reality, the AI viruses could take control of any computer system in seconds. The stealth technology made human ships invisible to all known detection methods. She emphasized that these weapons had been developed purely for defensive purposes. Earth had hoped never to use them against living beings. The massacre of innocent, Colonists had forced humanity to reveal their true capabilities as a warning to any species that might consider humans easy prey. Colonel Parker spoke about the Ghost Legion and their rescue of the New Horizon survivors. His enhanced soldiers were the ultimate expression of human dedication to protecting innocent life. They had risked everything to save people they had never met, driven by the human belief that every life had value. The broadcast concluded with a simple but powerful statement from President Cross. Humanity would continue to expand peacefully among the stars, seeking friendship and cooperation with other species. But any civilization that chose to target human civilians would face the same precise and overwhelming response that had eliminated Zephyrian military power. The message spread through the galaxy faster than light, carried by quantum communication networks to every inhabited world. Alien leaders watched the broadcast in their council chambers. Military commanders studied the footage of human weapons. Scientists tried to understand technology that seemed to violate known laws of physics. The Zephyrian survivors found themselves alone in their damaged ships, with no weapons and no way to communicate with their home world. Their military had been completely destroyed in less than 3 days. Their admiral floated in an escape pod, rescued by human forces who could have left him to die in space. Other aggressive species quickly reconsidered their expansion plans. The hegemony canceled their planned invasion of human mining colonies. The Ravager clan stopped raiding ships in systems near human space. Even the ancient overlords who had dominated the galaxy for millennia sent diplomatic messages offering trade agreements with Earth. The galactic community took notice that a new power had emerged among the stars. Humanity had demonstrated that they could defend themselves and their innocent citizens with devastating effectiveness. More importantly, they had shown that their advanced capabilities were guided by moral principles that made them worthy allies rather than conquerors. Emma Morrison concluded the broadcast by returning to the memorial list. She read her father's name one final time, along with those of all the other victims. The names of the dead would be remembered not as casualties of war, but as the reason why humanity had chosen to stand up for the innocent everywhere. The New Horizon Memorial was built on Earth, displaying the personal effects recovered from the wreckage. Captain Morrison's logbook, Dr. Bennett's medical journals, and Mrs. Davis's lesson plans served as eternal reminders of the price of peace and the cost of its protection. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through the courage to defend the defenseless and the wisdom to use overwhelming power with precise restraint.